do just to like hopefully help there. But right. Wait a few minutes for some people to show up. Go from there.
Yep.
Did you respond to those YouTube comments yet?
I made sure to find is it Stephanie?
Stephanie, I think. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I made sure to. I felt bad. Even though I know that wasn't her intention.
Yeah. Yep. Wait for a few more people. We'll jump into the topic. For those joining in, topic today is going to be sourcing around the holiday when there's extra sales happening. What's the mindset? What are we doing differently, if anything? Are we doing things differently? Are certain holidays, better to source than others? Replens involved. So there's a lot of different topics. How's it going, Seth? Good to see you here.
What's up?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to talk about with, Easter this weekend. There's already sales happening on certain websites. If you've been in the game long enough, you're going to notice that some of the sales maybe are the exact same as any other sale they've ran in the past, right? Or sometimes they will run like an extra 5% more than you're used to. Certain websites, they run like 10% off all the time. They run, they always have certain discounts that are 10%. Some, now that same site is, offering 15% off site wide, right? Or 20% normally, and they're giving an extra 5%, 25%. So we'll get into all that. Maybe wait another minute or so to let some more people jump in. I see people fluctuating in and out, so give it a second. Any big plans for the holiday weekend?
Not really. We don't really have any family where we live, but we'll do stuff for the enjoyment of our young kid type of thing.
Sure.
It'll be his first one that he's actually, I think, old enough to like move around and stuff. What about you?
Nice. Well, my wife just got COVID, so probably staying around. We were going to go home. Our family's a couple hours away drive, so
Yeah.
normally do get home the weekend, but might not make it out this time. But we'll maybe like FaceTime or something when the whole group's together and
Yeah.
just say hi, I guess. But
Yeah.
so
I will say, the same way that I feel turkey is so overrated and needs to be done with for Thanksgiving, I'm also not a ham guy. And like, I love food. I love food.
man.
And neither of those do it for me,
I gotta say, ham is my favorite holiday food out of anything. Out of any holiday, and
Yeah.
we always have ham with the pineapple on it. Oh, it's the best. But
Nice. Yeah. Hey.
so I have to have them freeze me some leftovers, so next time I'm home, I can
Yeah.
grab that container. But
Yeah. Hey, to each their own. Enjoy your ham,
Yep. Whatever
Yeah.
you got to do. Stephanie,
Yeah.
how's it going? Jonathan reached out, made her day. That's awesome.
Awesome. Yep. No, I made sure to take care of that. I didn't want to carry that guilt around me. Not that you threw it on me, but I was carrying it myself.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we have a good amount of people here, so we'll jump into the topic. Mentioned it at the beginning, but we'll go over it again. So, as you guys know, Easter holiday is this weekend. So a lot of websites are running sales. You've probably already seen it since it's Thursday. A lot of sites are going to run site-wide sales. You might see some sales that are similar to other sales that same site has ran in the past, which is great to, we'll get into all the different, subtopics of this, but it's great to have leads that you're tracking that matter when certain discounts are ran, because if you do have certain replens that you are purchasing and you bought it with the President's Day 20% off sale, and now the site hasn't had a discount until Easter 20% off, now right away that those leads are going to be worth your time looking at. So we're going to talk about our our philosophy on, sourcing during holidays. Do we change anything? Is our mindset different? Or are we just sourcing like we would any other day? And how important are certain holidays versus others? So plenty to talk about here. If you guys have any questions along the way, definitely throw it in the chat. We're going to answer as best we can. But yeah, Jonathan, open it up. I guess let us know what your thoughts are on holiday sourcing and where you're at there.
Yeah, I mean, I think to start off, I think it's worth mentioning that we've all probably been there earlier on in the journey, and you're experiencing your first couple of holidays, and like you hear a lot of talk about holidays. And like I'm sure that some people crush them. To me personally, it's never been this overly dramatic experience. I mean, do I try to take advantage of sales? Of course. But just know that if you're at a point where it's just like you're finding the normal amount of leads, I don't think that's like lacking by any means. I think it's one of those examples, the same way that Q4 gets tremendous hype, and honestly for good reason. But my first Q4, I thought October 1st, all of a sudden my sales go through the roof, and it's just not really the case. So I guess I'll just start with that by saying, like, do I think that there could be more opportunities? Yes. Do I think a life-changing amount? Probably not. So don't feel bad about not hitting a jackpots if it's your first holiday or two.
And I think that can be said about basically any holiday besides Black Friday. I think there is like a lot of It's not just like some opportunities here and there. It's like a lot of times the best opportunity on almost every website during that time. So when we get to that point, we can mess around there. But most of the holidays, yeah, like you said, it's not going to be like home runs all around. I mean, there's going to be certain sites that you might find more leads at, or if you have some replens that you are going to easily find because they're automatically on a discount, like go right ahead. But yeah, you don't have to spend double of what you normally spend in a week just because the sales are happening, or you're buying double the inventory. Because what happens on these sales, there's not really that increased volume like there is during Q4. So sometimes, the buying that you do during the Black Friday does translate to quicker sales, higher profits, just because of the nature of what's happening, right? Everyone's buying Christmas gifts, but you have a sale on Easter, and then what happens after Easter? I mean, there's nothing that generates more volume on the items you're currently purchasing, than there is just on a normal day. So you buying double just because there's a sale, maybe it makes sense on certain leads, right? Where, that lead never has discounts on it. You've been tracking it for a while, right? And every website that has it, in stock, they never run sales, and all of a sudden there's 25% off. Okay, maybe you want to go a little bit deeper, because once that discount ends, and if it's only a 2 or 3 day discount, then you might have the advantage, and there's not going to be a ton of competition at the purchase price that you bought it at. But for the most part, right, you're not going to have this like insane volume after the sales happen, where a lot of people, where the buying more units than you normally would during your normal buying criteria are going to make more sense. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And actually it got my mind thinking too, just using Easter as an example, some products that you buy around the holidays. So with holidays, there's opportunity to buy like Easter, the weekend of, there will be sales, but you're not buying Easter themed goods this weekend in hopes of selling them. So like there's kind of two components. There's one, buying in advance to sell for the Easter demand, hypothetically like Easter egg hunting stuff or stuff like that. And if you go that route, keep in mind that after Sunday, you're going to have to tank the price to get that off of your plate. Whereas if it is an Easter flavored K-Cup, right? Well, people, if they like that flavor, they'll buy that for months to come. So like, just know that not every Easter product that you want to sell for the holiday is created equal. And the same could be said, just to drive home the point, pumpkin spiced coffee come fall, right? It's not like, okay, fall's over and I just don't like pumpkin coffee anymore. People will continue. Contrarily, for Halloween, costumes fall off the cliff, right? So just keep that in mind too. But like you said, yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to project to the future accordingly as well.
Let's put some numbers to that, to
Yeah.
what the kind of the fluctuation you were saying. So like, let's just go, I guess we can go Easter because that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Let's say the Easter eggs, right? Maybe you buy those plastic Easter eggs in bundles of 100, right? And you buy them maybe at the beginning of March, and at the beginning of March, let's say the sales rank is sitting at, and that's probably a home and kitchen product. Maybe it's an arts and crafts, but let's just assume it's home and kitchen. Probably going to be close to anything before March is probably going to be sitting around like 300-400K. It just doesn't sell a lot in this, early spring, maybe for decoration slightly, but anyway, it's not going to be a great rank. Once March hits and Easter is kind of the next holiday in line, I guess St. Patrick's Day is on people's minds. So even like early March, still people might not be thinking about Easter as much. As soon as that gets on people's minds, right now the ranks going down, going down, going down. And let's just assume it's a very it's a product, well-known product. At its peak, we might see, sub 20K, sub 10K rank on a product like that up until, like you said, Sunday. Then all of a sudden you're going to see it might not shoot all the way up to 300K right away, but maybe a month from now, you will probably see it back in that 300-400K range compared to, let's say, now this is where it makes easier sense to talk about the pumpkin spice. So pumpkin spice, I mean, even myself, I really enjoy the pumpkin spice like creamer. Yeah. So like once fall hits, right, the demand goes through the roof for that. But once it kind of gets past that season and we get into like even winter flavors and stuff, there's still like enough demand for something like that where people still want pumpkin spice creamer if they like it. So to assign numbers, it'd be like, in the food category, maybe that at its low point is like 20K rank, right? It's like summer, no one wants, or not as many people want it, but a 20K rank in food is still decent. At its peak, right when like September 1st hits, that pumpkin spice creamer maybe is sitting at like 2K rank. Like it's flying off the shelf, right? And then once you get to like November, mid-November, it still sells well. Maybe it's, it's back up to like a 10K rank. So yeah, I mean, that's just like really in depth on seasonal items, but there are seasonal items that won't fall off a cliff.
Right.
But the costumes, the Easter eggs, the baskets, that kind of stuff does. So you just have to really understand that even when the sales are happening. I mean, if you plan on merchant fulfilling, quick flipping certain things, I mean, you have such a small window here, but just to really hit home the seasonality of things.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, if you are trying to play any holiday, but using this, things that are used for and during an Easter weekend, again, Easter egg hunting materials, whatever supplies, you're always at the mercy of how long it takes to get checked in, right? So there's no way of knowing. You can only buy them so far in advance. So it's always a game there. So that's a good example of like. That's why I don't think that whole angle of the holiday, I don't even put any thought into that, to be honest with you. My only real thought for a holiday of this magnitude is what discounted sourcing can I do come tomorrow through the weekend,
Yep. Have you sold any like Easter chocolates or jelly beans or stuff?
No, nothing.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm just curious if maybe I'll just like check out some charts in the future, but I'm curious, does that stuff, like the consumables, does that stuff fall off as hard as obviously like decorations will? But I'm curious if like Reese's eggs or Cadbury eggs, those probably still sell semi well. We're getting into meltable season soon, but I would still assume that stuff doesn't fall off as hard as like the decorations.
Yep. No, I agree with you. See a couple comments here.
Yeah, there's a bunch. How would you ship a 3-pack of product when I haven't the individual items just in sets of 3 in polybag? Yeah. Basically, if you can fit, you can buy like packs of 100 of 4 different sizes of polybags. I always have like 8 different sizes, really small to really big, and with the smallest bag you can use that fits 3. Slap a multi-pack label on there with the bar. You have your UPC code plus a sticker that says this is a set, do not separate. If you're talking FBA, if you're merchant fulfilling this, the smallest, lightest box possible that you can fit all 3 that won't get damaged. But
I mean, he said it. Also, I think I made a video. If you search YouTube, literally step by step on how to pack a multi-pack. I don't know if you have one like that too, Alex, but you're gonna, unless you're doing it, the 99% of people are gonna put it in a poly bag. You cover the barcodes on the product so that when they scan them in, you put your printed barcode on the outside, because now one barcode represents 3 items as one unit, and you put a do not separate sticker. But you can find that anywhere online. That'll be easy to find step by step.
Yep. Do you hide the barcode every time?
So in an ideal world, I would have the right size bag, the right size product, and like I would kind of like butt the barcodes together. But there are funky shaped things, right?
Or just round bottles where they can spin freely.
Right. So what I'll do is just print extra of the Amazon barcodes and put them over the ones even in the poly bag, because the way I view it, somebody's going through their job really quickly scanning, even if they don't mean to, and it catches the wrong barcode, it can create an issue. So that's kind of the only way that I can really think of logically to avoid that.
Gotcha. Yep. All right. Seth asks, Q4 is around a little bit easier for me to wrap my head around. I've never understood how to time out like the back to school or Easter. By timing, I mean these holiday items in stock. Yeah, it's I mean, there is a lot of like merchant fill opportunity, I think, and competition plays a lot into it too. I actually did a little bit of like costume selling this October, and I was actually buying some of the costumes at the end of September. So I did have like a full month I sent some FBA, and then I did merchant fulfill some just because I was a little skeptical on how quickly they'd sell, check-in time, stuff like that. Did see some competition increase on some of the items because, again, it was my first time going into the costume, so I wasn't 100% sure. But timing makes it really tricky, and if you don't have the timing down, definitely go on the side of caution and add as little risk as possible. So for me, that would be like merchant fulfilling or buying only 5 units at a time, right? So if you get burned, then it's like, okay, well, I'm only stuck with, $50 of inventory, not $500 of inventory that's not going to sell. I mean, the only nice thing about like the costumes is Christmas is, semi soon after. So you might sell some of I did sell most of my costumes like during the Christmas season that didn't sell, during October and Halloween. So kind of got lucky, I guess. But yeah, the timing of things is tricky. Have you done a lot of seasonal items like for any holidays?
I mean, I guess to that point too, like all of us, we only have X amount to spend, and whether I make my money in any of the categories, it's irrelevant. So like, I think we get caught up in, I should be taking advantage of Easter because that's a good opportunity. But actually, it's probably a much higher risk thing if you're trying to time it. So for me, it's like the risk reward isn't there. I'd rather, even if it means taking a little bit longer, just buy more everyday goods around Easter than, let's say I get them in time and I make 50% ROI, but then on the ones afterwards, I'm breaking even, right? I'd rather just have my smooth, steady 25% or 40% or whatever, and not have to even take that chance, not rely on an FC transfer, not rely on UPS. You're putting more and more things out of your control when you have a hard date behind you. Now, for some people, because of that, it could be a good opportunity, but I think the amount of people that really benefits is actually like drastically smaller than what you may think.
Yep. Well said there. Besmers asks, hey guys, out of topic on an FBM order pending for more than 72 hours. What should I do in this case?
I'll lean on you for that. I mean, I think I know, but I'm not an expert in that.
I think, this is what's also confusing to me, and I've had it go both ways. So I think for the most part, it'll get canceled eventually if they don't pay, right? It's usually like pending, which because it's waiting payment. The customer never actually pays for the order, or their card gets declined or something. And then it will cancel the order in probably, I think sometimes it takes like up to 6 days, 7 days. So You're going to have to wait for that to happen unless they somehow, sometimes it'll just go through after like 3 days, and then you get a random, FBM order that you got to ship out. But then I think a lot of times it does not go back into your stock. It doesn't just get automatically added. Sometimes it does. That's the one part I'm confused about, because I've had items where, like over Q4, I would sell an item, it got canceled, or the customer asked me to cancel, and then all of a sudden I have one on the shelf and I'm like, why isn't that selling? I go and check, I have 0 in stock. So then I had to re-add it with a new shipment, and it sold right away. It's the only confusing part to me. So for the most part, you're just gonna have to wait at least for the FBM order to get canceled. And then depending if it does go back in your inventory right away, or if it doesn't, you'll just have to create a new shipment to add that one back in stock so you can sell out.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything really above that. It's kind of, it really stinks that could happen, because it could tie you up. And then, I've had not understanding how much I actually have in stock, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But, I'm sure there's a hard number in Amazon that they're allowed to be. But there's not a whole lot you can do. They have the full window of time, whatever that is. And that's just kind of how it goes.
Yep. Seth says, I made good money mopping up the holiday related items and selling them after the holidays. That's an interesting strategy if we want to just dive into that quick. Stuff that maybe goes up in rank but doesn't completely tank in price. You could probably actually figure out some sort of keep a product finder search to search, seasonal items by title or category potentially, and then look for items that have either stayed the same or gone up in price, right? Or have it, maybe only dropped in price a certain percentage. And if they're like 70-80% off in store, you could probably still make some money if the rank didn't just completely go to the moon. So
I'll think about, I'm sure you could throw that into a keep a product finder search, or try to get creative to figure one out.
Yeah, something.
But I do think that makes sense, because I see down here he mentioned candies for Christmas and Valentine's. I think food in general is going to have a longer opportunity, because despite what it looks like or the title or the flavor, like, food is food, So I definitely think that's a safe avenue.
And like, if it's like pertaining to like your favorite brand, like Reese's eggs or Christmas trees, right? They always have their like little designed thing, but it's still a Reese's cup. So people, it's like, oh, well, it's a little discounted, or, I didn't get to try a Reese's egg this year, so let me buy a couple. So yeah, I can see how food is definitely one of those that, or any consumable really, whether it's coffee or food or any drinks that are seasonal maybe, are still going to sell.
Yep.
Quick Q, what's the minimum spend on each VA's leads daily? So daily, it's going to fluctuate a little bit more. I go off of more of like a monthly spend. So basically for my VAs, I'm tracking, so I am tracking spend, which isn't like the best, because, if we buy a lead that tanks and don't make money on, then, they still get rewarded, but it's a good system that I'm tracking currently. But basically I'm tracking their full spend for the month and then giving them bonuses based on that. If you've had a VA for, like, let's say they're in their first or second month, hopefully you're able to spend, upwards of $5,000 the first month on their leads. Third, fourth, fifth month, you're hoping that you see some improvement and they're consistently allowing you to spend 10 to 15K each month. Assuming they're working a full 40-hour work week. That's been my experience, and I, have seen growth in my own employees, over that period of time. So that's what you hope to see. Bill, how's it going? Bill Flipper, how's everyone doing? 2 favorite Amazon channels. Love to hear it.
Appreciate that.
I eat Peeps all year long. There you go. Pumpkin spice coffee and Peeps. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Peeps
so there you go. Someone's buying it, right?
Yep. There you go. Bill's keeping that sales rank low.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Nico, yeah, appreciate you. Eddie asked, it can make sense to go deeper on sale items that you have previously sold, rarely go on sale, and can hold to ship into FBA over coming weeks, months. Exactly. But I would not do seasonal holiday items. Yep, exactly. Kind of what we were saying. Yeah, like if you, just to reiterate, if you do have, like I said, I have plenty of items where I got 4 or 5 different spreadsheets of items that I have not purchased once, but I'm tracking them religiously because I know if I can get them in stock somehow at the right price, they will do really well for me. Or,
Yeah.
maybe I bought them one time when they were on sale, like last year, right? And I haven't gotten them on sale or at the right price, or it tanked a little bit, right? So I haven't been able to get them cheap enough. But you pay attention to that stuff, and when they go on sale, boom, you can buy, because they sell fast, if you get them at the right price. So those types of items, of course, if there's a big holiday sale happening, I am not afraid. If I've already tested the product, especially, I'm not afraid to go deeper on something like that. Is that kind of how you view things? Like if you've tested it before, makes more sense for you to buy more if you're not going to be able to get those, for a while. I mean, certain products, you probably know, will not go on sale hardly ever. And when they do, you got to take advantage.
100%. Like when you buy something for the first time at a price that makes sense, sometimes you don't know that I just bought it at the lowest I'm going to get it for 6 months, but you do this longer, and like there's certain sites and brands, and you're like, okay, my bottom pricing or the only time it makes sense is from this one site when they do buy one, get one 50 and 25% off at the same time. And I know they do that for this brand once a quarter, and that's the only time it makes sense. And so in that instance, I might buy inventory to carry me 3 months, whereas typically I'm gauging for a month. There's a lot of variables, of course, but to answer your question, 100% that you have to, and frankly, the only way that is just by putting in time and like going through cycles.
Yep. And it is okay if you even for like semi newer sellers or intermediate sellers, like it's okay. Like we kind of talked about, you don't have to have a home run every holiday. Like don't feel like the holiday went by and I only spent, I didn't spend like $5,000 on Sunday when all the sales were happening. Like it's okay. You're going to have that. And if you did buy some good inventory, like it's, in my mind, even for intermediate sellers, it's better to be saying, I wish I would have bought more, instead of, man, I wish I didn't buy so many, because the latter is like definitely a worse situation to be in. And you learn a ton from both.
Yeah.
So why not learn from one and also, be in a place where you still have money to spend. But I've had plenty of instances, like one specifically, I bought this product on Ulta. They ran a 50% off sale on this one brand. I found the lead. I bought 10 units because I just hadn't sold it before, didn't know. I'm like, it's Ulta, other people are probably going to find it. And I sold all 10 in one day. And then I go back to buy, I'm like, I'm going to buy 50 this time because the competition stayed low. They were already done with the sale. So, and I haven't seen that sale ever again on that brand. And that was like 8 months ago. So,
but contrarily, if you bought that for the first time, the amount of times that I've bought 20, 30, 40, 50 off the rip, it never really pans out,
Yeah, exactly.
At this stage, maybe, but like, it's easy to have those moments you just described. And then the next time you see a similar situation for a different product, you get this FOMO. But in reality, like the amount of times for me that I've gone big right out the gate and it's panned out, like throughout the life of that product, is very small, like very small.
Yeah. I think most people in the chat can probably attest to that if you've been selling for.
Yeah. I would much rather buy 5 different items, 10 of them, and have to source longer than one item of 50. Even if it panned out, because I'm going to get feedback on 5 different things, right? And if one of them that I should have bought 50 on, there'll be another day to do that again. But now I've just, I've forced myself to become a better sourcer, which is really the name of the game.
Yep, exactly. Seth says, I think you have to let the order sit in pending until they pay. Yeah, and if they never pay, the order will get canceled eventually.
Right.
Pumpkin spice items and Hallmark ornaments have been hot for me the past 2 years. Yeah. You just got to look for the opportunity. Again, I like to err on the side of caution on certain seasonal, just because that's definitely one of those where the saying, I wish I bought more, applies much more than I wish I didn't buy so much. Because if you're stuck with those items, some items go to a million rank after the holiday's over, and those will not sell until like literally the next holiday season. So just got to be careful on certain things like that. A lot of these comments seem to be made a while ago because we were taking a while on the upper ones, but thank you. Hope it's not a competitor purchasing and not intending to pay. Yeah, I like to think that doesn't happen too often, but I guess you never know.
Yeah. So why don't we hang tight there for 1 sec? There's one important point I definitely want to drive home before I forget.
Yep.
And that is whether it's Easter or any other holiday, keep in mind that you're going to see likely a lot of highly discounted items or bigger sales than normal, but you always have to gauge how discounted is this relative to what my competition sees. And what I mean by that, I use an easy example. If you go to the front page of Nike and it's 50% off, and literally you found this product on the front page of Nike, there's a good chance that a million other people are also going to Nike and seeing that for 50% off. And if we both and all of us get it for 50% off, it's really not nearly as advantageous as one may think. Now, contrarily, it could be a great time to get things at a discount that, let's say it's something that you only, with certainty, you can only get it for $20 at its cheapest, but this holiday you can get it for 15. It's a pretty steady product. Well, great. That's a great opportunity to just buy more of what works at a lower price. But yeah, I mean, it's the bottom line is this: you just have to keep in mind, how hard was it for me to achieve this price relative to my competition? Because even if I only pay $1, if a million other people are also only paying $1, it's not really an advantage. So just keep that in mind too. And we've all made that mistake.
Yep. And same goes for, that's not just like manual sourcing, right? Oh, I went to Nike.com. It was right on the homepage. You might be storefront stocking at this time, right? Maybe some storefront has a bunch of seasonal items that you found and you're like, oh, I can kind of shortcut this. They've already found the listings for me. Take a look at like when you search for that product, where to purchase. If it's the first, if Walgreens 20% off and they're advertising buy one, get one, 50% off plus 20, like they do that sometimes on the Google shopping search, right? And it's the first lead. Like if you click the Google button on SellerAmp, or you export, right? You search the title and that first listing comes up is the cheapest place to buy. It's the same thing as finding something on a Nike homepage. It is very easy for you. It's very easy for everyone else because they don't have to do any digging. It's right in front of them. So yeah, that's where certain items can get tricky, and even some of your good replens, right? Like they can tank at any point, or at least they can increase in competition. Doesn't necessarily mean everything's tanking, but you just over time, I mean, you see these things happen over and over again. But I think if you've been selling long enough, you'll know when it's time to go deeper on certain products, especially your bread and butter. I mean, we both have listings that are, or brands even that are, we know when it's time to go deeper on, just because we've sold them so many times. We've bought them from so many different websites at different times with different sales at different keep a chart, history. Like we've seen it all. So you just learn those things over time. And that's just, a matter of going wide on so many different things and, understanding as much as possible during we've been through so many Easter sales and we've been through how many Black Fridays. You just see certain things and you just retain that stuff.
And one thing to me, I think's been when I think about like a real good sign that you're in a good place, it's like, let's say we know you can only, we were talking about like sales that only come along once a quarter. Well, there's certain ones that a bunch of people are going to jump on for the first time and they'll all buy 10, but you have the patience and the knowledge to say, I'll let them all sell through. I know I have a 3-month gap here, and then I'll command a premium on the tail end type of thing. And when you have the patience to do that and you get it right, that's kind of knowing like, all right, I'm on to this, I'm pretty locked in, you know what I mean? And like, so contrarily, you don't always have to tank your price. If you see other, check how much stock they have and try to get a feel that way. And all this stuff just becomes easier and easier with time, of course. There's no way to force that, unfortunately.
Yep. Everything you good on that side of the topic? Get them with some more questions. If so, there's still a bunch of them. Did you guys touch on the Nature Made restriction? We haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
Definitely pretty new. I guess if you want to, you can say as much
Yeah.
as you want or as little as you want, whatever.
Yeah, no. So basically today, my prep center was like telling me that like 5 of my brands that I sell all the time are coming up restricted when they're trying to create a shipment. And so I'm like, what is going on? And then I put out an Instagram post and I sent a screenshot. It wasn't just restricted where like you can click for approval. It's what people kind of refer to as red restricted. There's like a red restricted icon. I can't do anything. I'm just not allowed to sell it, which was really odd to me. I'm very good at account health and stuff like that. And I put it out there and some people were like, "Hey, emails went out." And I've triple checked. I've talked to multiple other sellers. A lot of people didn't get emails. And so the fact that I'm seeing that same restriction thing, and by the way, someone sent me a screenshot and it literally said today. So when I saw it was dated today, basically the same thing as Clinique and the other stuff, like I think it's going to be gone. So it's not about an approval thing. And I guess there's a lot of brands like that, but I didn't get any emails. And I think a lot of people didn't get emails. So I would just say to check your emails. And for me personally, I'm just reducing the prices. I want them gone ASAP because the last thing I want them to do is to go stranded and then I got to send them home and offload them on like, eBay or something. So long story short, like if you're familiar with Clinique, what was the other one? Kiehl's. I think
Deals, yeah.
basically the same thing with just, I don't know if it was a glitch or whatever, but lack of email communication, which really stinks. But like, I think that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, and I'll just say it. I didn't get any emails for any of these supplement brands either. So it's a little, to me, it's obviously it's bad business practice from Amazon, like not giving sellers with potentially a lot of stock an opportunity to understand, how to modify their business to make up for this. So yeah, I think they screwed up. It seems. But if they did send it out to some sellers, which is weird, then I mean they're
Yeah.
not. I don't think they're gonna like change the deadline or anything. But they need to have something, some better communication in place. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's just like I mean we've kind of talked about it offline here. How I mean they could do that to like literally any brand, and if there's no communication, I mean who knows how many sellers it's affecting, in like a negative way, and it's
Yeah.
a little concerning, but hopefully it was just kind of a one-off. Like they forgot on this part. I don't know. I think seller central or seller support is going to get a lot of calls in the next day or two.
I would also, if you have any question, you can just use Nature Made as an example. Go to add a product in your catalog, any of them, and see what happens. If it allows you, or if you get a red restricted, and that'll kind of let you know where you're at. But if not, I don't know how long it'll be, but like I would imagine it's a matter of time for everyone.
Yep. Yep. Thoughts on discounted gift cards? I've been nervous about it, but couldn't resist some 20% off gift cards today on Raise, but I got burned. I reported it, but now I'm gun shy about trying again. You got burned on Raise? Because Raise does a full verification check on the balances and everything. And if there are any issues, normally they are pretty good about, money back guarantee. Card Cash, maybe you got burned there on like not having a balance, but they will give you a refund after a few days if you just report the card right away. I use them sparingly. I'll let Jonathan talk about his use of them too, I guess. But for me, I use them when necessary. And again, if it's it's just like there's so many different instances where they could be beneficial, but it's almost like too much risk involved. Because you got to remember, like if you're gonna get an item returned, right, or if you bought the wrong product, or if it's restricted and you used a bunch of gift cards to buy them, now if it gets returned, right, now you have a gift card balance instead of cash back on your credit card, right? You're not getting that money back. You're getting, store credit back basically. So that's like the only, I guess, like risk involved, downside involved. Certain sites, if they're running a sale and gift cards are large and they're going to add a big chunk of margin, then sometimes it's worth it. Again, there's a lot more risk involved in my mind if you're like using like $1,000 in gift cards on a purchase versus like you're buying like a test buy of 10 and you can get an extra 8% off on a gift card, so you spend $200 on a gift card. I don't know, I guess there's just too many different scenarios where maybe you're buying from a site that cancels often, and you're putting in an order of like 10 units. You don't know if they're going to cancel or not. Like that's pretty clear where I wouldn't use a gift card. You just got to buy with whatever discounts you're getting and hope that that's a low enough buy cost to be profitable. But I mean, there's plenty of instances where gift cards definitely will help you. Just I wouldn't rely on them fully. That's kind of my take.
Yeah. I don't use them. I used them once, and like I think I bought like, I don't know, $400 worth, and then they came in $10 increments, and then I could only use 3 at a time during checkout. So the amount of time was a headache. I don't, like you were saying, like I don't know if the risk reward is there. Like you get burned one time and it's like offsets any savings you could have had. So for me, just with the bad taste in my mouth and the saving of a couple percentage points, to be honest, when I'm sourcing, I'm pretty focused for a couple hours straight when I do it. And I kind of feel like, from what I remember, it kind of breaks up my flow too. So like,
Definitely.
do I think some people probably really take advantage of it and do it right? I'm sure. But like with Rakuten and cashback credit card, that's good enough for me, type of thing. And I'm not saying not to use those anyway, but like if something is, whether it be Rakuten or even that, to be honest, I'm not saying this is right, just mentally for me, if a deal doesn't make sense without it, I'm not going to force it because of that type of thing. So that's just gravy on top, but I don't deal with it personally.
Yeah, my recommendation in the end is start small. Definitely don't if you got $1,000 in your Kohl's cart and you go and buy $1,000 in gift cards, like there's just way too much risk involved there if the order gets canceled or something happens, right? So definitely start small, and build confidence in the gift cards that you're using, making sure that they're actually working, giving you more profit, right? And then kind of scale up from there if you choose to do so. Also, one more aspect we didn't talk about is tracking them. I mean, like I mentioned at the beginning, there's something gets returned or like you said, maybe Dick's Sporting Goods only has 8 out of 10 in stock, and then all of a sudden they refund you on the 2 items. Well, that goes back on the gift card that you used to purchase. So now you have a random gift card out there that's maybe they don't even tell you. They just say, oh, it's going back on the method used to pay for this, and that was a gift card. But they're not saying, oh, here, your gift card now has a balance again of $80, right? You just have to be tracking those things. So it's just another aspect of it. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely some benefit there, but you just have to really understand the risk and make sure that it's worth it for you. But anyway, Ed asks, hey guys, when deciding whether an ASIN is worth your time, what is the minimum profit you look to make per month per ASIN? Per month per ASIN. Interesting.
I've never considered per month. I know people that do. I think if you do that personally, you can get away from quality purchases. If I have an item that I say, hey, every ASIN I buy, I want to make $100 a month on it. Well, just for a round number, I can buy this $10 item and make $1 on it and buy 100 of them. But like if one tiny thing goes wrong, it's all blown up, right? And so it's like I like to look at it a more of an individual basis. And I am not rigid by any means, especially as you do this more and more. There are truly so many variables. But if I was talking to somebody brand new, I would say give yourself $5 projected profit and strive for at least 40 or not. I would say at least 30% ROI. That depends on how experienced you are. But like the higher ROI you have and the $5, that gives you a lot of cushion for misreads, things that you didn't learn yet, But to me, I think it's important to have an ROI percentage to keep you on track. But there's certain instances that you have to put like a percentage aside and just look at the actual dollars, right? If I buy something for $3 and it could make me $3 profit, that's 100% ROI, but I still only have $3 worth of cushion. You know what I mean? And so you have to weigh all of that. But again, general rule of thumb, give yourself $5 and 30-40% minimum, in my opinion.
Yep. No, I completely agree. It's definitely worth your time with that aspect. But you explain that plenty well. We'll keep moving along here.
Yeah.
Armand, #wealth. Love that. Thanks for joining. I think I've seen you every live so far. That's good. Eddie asks again, made good money stocking up during Keel's BOGO events in the past. Sad the brand is coming to an end. Yeah, I think a lot of people, their website always ran some good deals, and there's always competition on those listings, but there was definitely, always certain listings that you can make some money on depending on who's running the sale. A lot of websites sold Keels other than, just the brand's websites.
Right.
So there's plenty of opportunity around. It's a bummer, but hey, we pivot and we move forward. Armand asks, what to do if you've been storefront stocking and competitor taking adjusted? Should you play report them as counterfeit claim?
I would strongly suggest not to play dirty. Like, listen, I wouldn't personally give out my storefront, but if it leaked, right, it's not that big of a deal. You still need to know the time to buy them, how many to buy, and always be adding and changing. Knowing that I look at people's storefronts, I'd be delusional to think people aren't seeing mine. It's just part of the game. Don't put your energy or time into that.
Yep.
Hold on. The only thing I would say is if you're really concerned, frequently change your storefront name. Now, if they have your links, that it's irrelevant. But if people are just going off of a visual, you can at least mix up your name from time to time.
Yep. And what was I going to say about this? Storefront. We'll come back to it if I remember. After grocery, what is the second category that you recommend? Is grocery the first category you'd recommend?
It depends. RA, yes, for me.
Sure, yeah.
RA. I really like vitamins and supplements, and I like, prior to today, and I really like beauty. Both of those have a ton of variations, multi-packs, they're consumables, high ticket price, like they check a lot of boxes, no moving parts.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I do like the consumables, whether that's makeup, beauty, vitamins, food, all that stuff that people are replenning themselves.
Right.
That stuff's it doesn't go away.
Yep.
If Amazon disappeared tomorrow, what direction would you consider taking your business? It's an interesting topic, big topic.
Yeah. For me, sure. I've thought about this. I think we all should think about this, right?
Yeah.
You know what I think a lot of good Amazon sellers would translate well to is flipping houses. It's just a bigger scale of what we do a million times a day. You're buying low. You have to predict what something's going to sell for down the road. You have to factor in cost, right? With Amazon, it's shipping and Amazon fulfillment fees and returns. With houses, it's materials and contractors and things like that. I don't know. I think about real estate. To me, that's always been the long-term play, is to try to park money into rental properties. And if that had to expedite, I could see flipping houses to create active income. I've done that a couple of times over the years. It's not like an active thing anymore, but there's a lot of overlap, believe it or not, between Amazon selling or for that matter, buying and selling anything. If you understand buy low, sell high, you can do it with anything. So you might as well go high ticket items.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. I think, it's I guess just based on current knowledge, I would probably look for other, and it doesn't have to be you're buying and selling products, right? Like physical products, but it's just what other companies allow third party selling or third party arbitrage, right? And that's kind of like, we already have such an advantage because of all the knowledge we have from like understanding sales history and competition, and different
Having
categories,
Keepa.
right? Like there's just so much information we already know about arbitrage and understanding kind of the supply and demand of things. Like supply and demand is everywhere. So having that knowledge, I think definitely gives you an advantage. So finding some sort of marketplace, or, whether that's, anywhere where arbitrage can be applied, and certain sites allow third party to make money in that aspect, I think is at least a starting point to try out.
And by the way, I do think it's worth noting. I love Amazon. I Today was even a good, just like to me it was like it was probably one of the days that shook me the most. And even then, like, I was calm and cool about it, but it does make me think like there will be an end day. I just don't think it's one of those businesses like real estate will be around forever. People have to always live somewhere. And I think Amazon will be around forever. But what that looks like, and it being a little out of our hands to a degree, I don't know that there will be many of us doing this in 10 years from now, right? So I think I say all that to say is, like, not to necessarily 1 foot in, 1 foot out, although I don't think that's a horrible idea either. But I do think it's worth thinking about, like, what's next. Or I've talked about, like, I don't think, knowing what I know now, I don't think people should just reinvest everything into Amazon. Like, if it means scaling slower, pull out money and diversify into some other things that maybe pique your interest, instead of waiting till that day comes when it is no longer a thing.
And keep we're obviously not trying to scare anyone, but over half of like Amazon sales are from third party sellers. So
Right.
they would not survive at the point that they would, or they wouldn't thrive at the point that they currently do if they didn't have the help of all the sourcing. Like, they sell billions of dollars in product every single day, and they don't source, they source some of it, but they don't source, nearly as much as you think. So it's us that are sourcing, providing the products for them to be able to provide to everybody. So, I mean,
I still think it's great.
Yeah. Our jobs are necessary. Just the manner in which they will look, like you said, in 10 years could be completely different.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know, but for the time being, we're grinding as hard as we can to again make this business model work. So we're taking advantage.
Yep.
I have sold Nature Made and never got an email. Yeah, that's the weird part. I didn't get an email. I am not restricted currently. It doesn't say red restricted. I tried to list a product just not, before this call, and didn't get any notification or blockage. So maybe tomorrow I'll check again tomorrow, and maybe, today is like the last day, right? But it makes sense that if they are banning today, they don't want anybody sending new inventory in, which is why your prep center had issues. But yeah, it's just it's so weird, the lack of communication. It's just unlike Amazon, because they do send plenty of emails that will let you know plenty ahead of time. Like the Kiehl's email, it gave basically everyone almost 2 full months to sell out of their stock, which is a lot of time, especially for people who only have 15, 20 units of something.
Right.
Matthew, hey guys, how do you pay yourself for Amazon FBA? I'm currently doing 15 to 20K months, and do you take a percentage, or how? It's a good question.
Yeah.
You have a good
so I'm like 4 years in, and this is the first year that I've been more formalized. And looking back, I don't think that's like a good thing. I think there's too many variables in every individual's life. How much money they need, do they have another job, et cetera, et cetera. I would say this: if I was talking to a friend starting out, I think something that makes sense is a percentage, because as you grow, your percentage, the amount will also grow, and you can keep the same percentage. If I had to give a ballpark number of every payout, maybe pay yourself 20%, just a ballpark number to be realistic. Right now, I just pay myself, and it's as simple as like a disbursement. Like, I think I'll eventually do treat myself like an employee, pay myself, and then a disbursement. Not to get into tax stuff, but S corporation has tax advantages. So anyway, I say all that to say, I take a certain chunk now every month, just a predetermined number I made up. And if that means I have to spend less next month, or if I have plenty more to spend, whatever, I'm paying myself first at this point. But it took me years to get to this point. But if I was just starting off, we're in that range again, probably in the 20% range per whatever whatever your disbursements are.
Yep. Yeah. And it's just, I think it's a matter of, figuring out what number you can pull out of the business without, going negative on the credit card, or you obviously can't pay yourself more than, what your payout is going to be to help pay the credit card. Like, don't do that, because that's not going to be beneficial to you for growth in any way. But yeah, if you can pay whatever for me, it's like I use one credit card to buy all my inventory. So it's really easy to track, like, what did I spend on inventory? How much is my payout, and how much needs to go to pay to keep that credit card in good standing? And then the rest is just, all my other fixed costs. And then what can I pay myself that's, left over, which is nice. So just really understand your numbers, and it's going to help you understand how much you can pay yourself now. Cause depending how much profit on 15 to 20K, you could be 2, 3, 4K at that point, depending on your ROI. And, you could be able to pay yourself, a good chunk of that if you're really tracking your numbers the right way.
I also think it's very mentally empowering seeing money hit your account from this. I think that there's like sometimes a misconception that like it's a flex, or like the right thing to do is to sacrifice, but like you want to stay motivated. And I think paying yourself is motivating, even if it's very little. And also I think if we have the money to spend, we'll spend it. So like, I think by paying yourself first, it's like, okay, I'll do that, a reasonable amount that I've determined. And maybe you take a couple months or a year to kind of get a good gauge on that, and just take out what you need in the meantime. And then once you determine that, it's non-negotiable. And then you make do with everything outside of that. And by the way, I actually think having your back against the wall a little it'll force you to be a better sourcer, because it's like, maybe I don't have 10K to spend this month because I paid myself 3K. I only have 7. Can I increase my quality of buys and still achieve the same profit? And I bet you'd be surprised that you probably could, as long as it's like within reason,
Yep, exactly. All right, we have one more question, a couple of comments. We're going to answer those and then wrap it up here. So just tried adding 5 Nature Made ASINs and had no restrictions. Did you check to those ASINs to see if brand got hijacked?
Did you check those ASINs to see if you just added? Sorry, let me read this again. Just tried adding 5 Nature Made ASINs and no restriction. I think in general, a lot of people don't have any issues right now, but I do know some do, and I think it's a matter of time before all do. So like, feel free to ride it out, but just don't be surprised if that day comes.
Yeah. Don't send in a ton of inventory tomorrow, and then a week from now everybody else gets hit with the restriction as well. So I think this is referring to what we would do instead of Amazon if Amazon got shut down. Tax lien auctions.
I've read up on those. Those are intriguing. Those are an interesting way to get involved. Yeah.
Yep. Here's one of the last questions here. Do you ship your products when you get them delivered to your house, or do you wait until the end of the week to send a big shipment into FBA? Go ahead.
It depends. For me, like, typically I want to have enough that it warrants a decent size. I don't want to take out the printer and everything for 6 items. You know what I mean? And frankly, I think a lot of things are out of our control. So if I send them on Wednesday or Friday for most items, I don't think it really matters. I would say, depending on how much you're sourcing, how much you get to your house, I think if you consistently do it once a week, you'll be just fine.
Yeah. I think like getting like 2 or 3 shipments out a week, honestly, it's just more hassle for you. You're going to be less efficient because you got to start your shipment and then end it. Then you got to go to the post office, and then you got to do that again 2 days later, when you could have just done it all in one day, spent that extra hour you prep the first shipment, sourcing, right? There's just, think about opportunity cost with shipments, because it is a little bit of setup, prep. Just do it all in one day. It's going to be maybe more efficient for you. Or if you find it more efficient breaking it up, go ahead. If you have large shipments, or a lot of polybags one day, right? You know, there's certain, I guess, instances, but for the most part, yeah, one shipment a week is going to be your most beneficial. Do you guys use A2X with QuickBooks?
I don't, but I finally have considered, I think that would be a good idea, to be honest, because I'm sure no matter how close I'm tracked, like there's no doubt in my mind, I am not 100% accurate on my bookkeeping. There's no doubt in my mind, you know?
Yeah. I use Bench, who they do it for me, and it's really expensive, but yeah, I kind of wish I would have started with QuickBooks, but I'm too far into my bookkeeping where if I tried to like start over with myself or somebody else, it's a lot of work. So
they factor in returns, by the way, what you use. They can factor in returns.
They track the returns. They get reports from Amazon every day or every week, I guess, and then it everything that happens with payout versus marketplace fees and all that stuff is factored in. Cool. All right, we hit the hour point. We did it. But we appreciate all you for staying along this whole time. A lot of great discussion with the questions. You know, our topic again. If you guys are joining late and you want to hear the bulk of the topic we had planned, go back and watch the first 20 minutes. We did a lot of talking on seasonality. You know, this holiday sourcing, what our mindset is. You know, why do we change our methods of sourcing, or are we buying more inventory, right? A lot of good information there. So go back and watch. But you guys are probably all subscribed to our channel, but we post a lot of great videos on sourcing, everything Amazon, you know, how to scale your business. So go check those out. Follow us on Instagram, DM us on Instagram if you have any questions or any topics for these, Thursday calls. We love ideas from the crowd, but otherwise, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week, right around the same time on Thursday.
Yep. Take it easy, everyone.